Welcome to another edition of the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Steven here. Dan, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Listen to Freak Show just now from Division 1.1. That's our song of the week.
We actually we have a guest tonight. Andy from Eyes on Isles will be joining us, and he actually picked the song for us tonight.
Yes, it's awesome. I'm sure since he is from Central Jersey, showing the boys some love, which is always good to hear and see. They are a great band. If you like heavy metal and you just like kick-ass music, heavy music, they're the band for you. Absolutely. We're gonna have Andy on. He's gonna recap Game 1 of the epic game between the Bruins and the Blackhawks. A nice original 6 matchup, the first time since 1970, the late 70s. I think 78 to be off the top of my head. Anyway,
79.
79? Okay. 79. I knew I was around that area. A big show, a lot of NBA talk, and we're going to talk about a little Mets and Yankees as well. The Mets are a complete joke, like always, and the Yankees are just being the Yankees steadily. It's like they're being the tortoise in the race of baseball.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, they will get there at the end of the day.
And the Mets are falling over their own feet.
Literally.
The fan base is.
Well, the fan base is, and his friends are not even helping him out. Anyway.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Granted, I would never be just
I know you wouldn't be that way.
No, I wouldn't be just chilling on half of the chair and move back. How many bears do you think he was down?
Good amount. Cost him a lot of money to fall over those stairs.
Now he's going viral, so congrats. Anyway,
we're going to go play a little more Division 1.1 for all you guys, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the S&D Podcast that you just listened to Freak Show. We're going to start off with a little NBA Finals action. So far, it's been an interesting series. The San Antonio Spurs have a 2-1 lead. By the time you're listening tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, the game 4 is going to be
in the books.
In the books. So it's either going to be 3-1 Spurs or 2-2, all tied up. It hasn't been a close series at all other than Game 1. Yeah. It's been very flip-flop. Game 1 was the closest game. The Heat, if they made a couple more shots, obviously they should have won. Not all their prime scorers showed up, really. And the Spurs found a way to win. Tony Parker found a way to be Tony Parker at the most key situation and took advantage of it. Game 2 was the Heat mad about losing Game 1, which we both called. If they were going to lose a game, they were going to come back. They dominated, and LeBron made a phenomenal block, granted in garbage time, but it was a nice block. But, of course, LeBron gets overhyped and everything like that, but it is what it is. It was a nice block. So they just went on rolled the Spurs in Game 2, which you expected.
Well, here's your fun fact of the series before Game 3 starts.
Well, Game 4 is tonight. So.
Game 4, I mean. Spurs are 14-2 in postseason series, and Duncan Popovich era went up 2-1.
That's a good tidbit. And then Game 3, the Spurs just mauled the Heat. Well,
the Spurs didn't. The players nobody knows on the Spurs did.
Yeah. Danny Green and Neal went off from three-point land. And LeBron had an off night, so everybody on ESPN's being silly and writing them off, like always. Just getting people's attention for watching SportsCenter, 10 hours of SportsCenter. Honestly, LeBron, I don't think this is going to last long, that LeBron's just going to be clanking everything, and Neal and Danny Green making every single shot in the face of the earth.
Well, what's going to play the biggest factor in Game 4 is Tony Parker's hamstring,
yes.
Of course. He will be playing, but he does have a slight strain in his hamstring.
It's one of those injuries. If it wasn't for the NBA Finals, he probably would be sitting out a couple of days.
Oh, no question about it. Regular season like this, he's out. But it's the finals. You play through everything.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got some sort of injury in the NBA Finals. Also, the fun fact is Miami hasn't lost back-to-back games since, I think January.
Never. Yeah, it's been a very long time, and it's just really the key that they are able to bounce back, and they're very resilient. And people are saying, well, if LeBron has another off night tonight, or is it going to reflect his legacy? Absolutely not. LeBron is LeBron. Granted, he's not, quote-unquote, the clutchest player ever, but he already won his ring. It's proven before, and it's only one game. It wasn't like the clincher of the series. He still has plenty of time to...
It wasn't the quote-unquote clutch game, per se.
Yeah.
He didn't have to be... It's not like if they lost, it was over, like you said.
Exactly. Let's just skip Bayless and Stephen A. just overhyping
now,
everything.
Game 4 is going to be huge for him.
And I expect a normal, typical LeBron game.
I think he's going to go off tonight.
I think I 100% agree with you. He's going off tonight. And honestly, if they had any sort of streak on the other night, other than Mike Miller, they would have easily made the game close, and they would have had a shot of winning, obviously. It was just one of those funky nights that, for some reason, the basketball didn't find the bottom of the hoop. And that happens time to time. Granted, it's not key for them to do it in the NBA Finals, but it is what it is. So I think the Heat are going to be able to take care of business and tie the series up.
It's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be closer than people think, considering the other ones have been blowouts.
Yeah, I hope
you kind of had the feel the day of Game 3 that San Antonio was going to win it.
Yeah, because it was the first home game,
and now today you have that feel that Miami's going to win it.
Absolutely.
I kind of predicted Miami in 7 because I think it's going to be an every other game series. Each team's going to win a game, and then they'll lose the next one. So basically, I'm saying Miami 4, win 4-6, and actually Miami will win 2 in a row. They'll win 2 and 7. 4-6-7.
It's going to be definitely interesting, and we got to see what happens. This Tony Parker injury could very well be a backbreaker. We don't know. We don't know the extent of the injury. Just for the Spurs' sake, I really hope not. And for the series to be interesting, I really hope not. But it really comes down to Tony Parker's hamstring and how hot Neal and Danny Green can stay hot. If those two guys can stay hot, along with Tim Duncan and just a relatively able to play with pain Tony Parker, it's going to be a tough time for the Heat to come through. So I think it's going to come down to Tony Parker's injury.
Yeah, because Tony Parker runs that team.
Yeah, he is the focal point. And he is one of the most underrated players in the league, like we mentioned last week.
We mention every time we talk about the Spurs.
Don't count them out, but I expect the Heat to clearly win tonight. Other basketball talk, big New York area basketball talk. We're gonna switch gears right now.
Jay Kidd.
He's the new coach of the Brooklyn Nets. What do you think about that? Like 2 weeks ago, he retires from the game from the Knicks, which is okay, well deserved. And then a couple of rumors, Jay Kidd is going for an interview for the Nets job. And then, Jay Kidd might have a shot at actually being the coach. He wants to be the coach. I think great. Congrats to him. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Well deserved. He's been playing for almost 20 years, and like we said in the tournament edition of NBA Jam, him and Grant Hill are the last two players in that game for nostalgic reasons who were still in the game, and active players who were in that original game, which was kind of amazing to see. How he already got the job, and he just retired, and he didn't need to become a coach. I guess the Nets' thinking was he's other than Dr. J, he is the second greatest Net to ever put on a Net jersey.
He's arguably the best player in that franchise since the ABA days.
Yes, he is the best NBA version Net.
And of course they made the deal that you're only going to be our coach if you bring in what's his name? Lawrence Frank.
Lawrence Frank, which was a very smart move. Lawrence Frank is a very good coach. He's not the world's greatest coach. Obviously, I'm not making him sound out to be Spoelstra or Thibodeau or Popovich.
He did well when he was there.
He did good with the Nets. They brought him to the playoffs a bunch of times because he had good talent. He's a pretty. No, Byron Scott were both times or the finals coach. He was the assistant.
That's correct.
He had a rough year this year with the Pistons. The Pistons are not a great team, and he had a couple family issues that obviously took precedent over coaching the NBA. So it's really going to be interesting to see how a rookie coach is able to rally the troops together. We know J. Kidd helped the Knicks so much this year, and he just ran out of gas. He's obviously a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest, arguably one of the best point guards ever to play the game. Is it too early for him to be a head coach? You're gonna get.
Look at the success that
you're gonna get a half empty, half full kind of perspective at things.
You look at the success that Mark Jackson had. Granted, he was out of the game for a couple of years.
The thing with Mark Jackson, he's been out of the game for a couple of years. He analyzed for at least 2 or 3 years, and he was able to take a back seat and able to see the whole league as a whole. Opposed to Jason Kidd just coming off the court and being able to coach the team.
You know exactly why he is the head coach of the team.
Oh, Darren.
Darren Williams said, "Hey, he's my friend. Let's make him the coach."
Let's see if he...
Because now it's not Jason Kidd's team.
Yeah. And
it's Darren Williams' team.
It's Darren Williams' team, and it's going to be interesting if he has been a notorious coach killer.
I saw a good meme. It had...
that's
Kidd,
right. Yeah.
Kidd is now the new coach, and then on the bottom it was all the other four, and it said, haha, good luck.
Yeah, I saw that. He said that it was obviously a huge risk that they picked Jason Kidd as the head coach, but you got to scratch your head a little bit. Bunch of other head coaches around that are proven, and you go with the big splash. And I hope for the Nets' sake that doesn't bite them in the butt per se after the growth they had the first season in Brooklyn. With J. Kidd's competitiveness and everything like that, it shouldn't. But you don't know. It could come to a crumbling crash if he doesn't know how to handle certain situations. That's why hopefully they do get Lawrence Frank with him to battle through those tough times because he's been through a lot of those battles. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Brooklyn Nets fan base takes this. Obviously, they're going to love Jason Kidd because Jason Kidd is their best player since Dr. J, like we mentioned.
Right.
But after the first 3-game losing streak or the 5-game losing streak, or they're just playing awful, or they got swept out of the playoffs, or they have a choke job in Game 7 against the Chicago Bulls again, what will happen?
Right.
I really feel bad for PJ Carlesimo. If it wasn't for it's been decades for it since, but ever since Latrell Sprewell choked him out, he's gotten very unfair shake at being a coach. I think he's a very good underrated coach, and just that one incident really damages a career, and it's really sad to see.
Yeah, it is sad to see. He deserves a job, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
He'll definitely be back. He'll either be
He'll definitely be assistant somewhere. He was obviously an interim coach. That's why Avery Johnson was the original coach of this year.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see and how much drama. A lot of people going, "Oh, you're a Knicks fan." Obviously, he had J. Kidd for a year. He was great for what he did, and his leadership taught fellow Knicks who were immature forever to finally be a pro's pro and being able to study film and all that other fun stuff that the Knicks will definitely, the current Knicks team are going to definitely cherish with them and be forever. I saw Carmelo actually Instagram the picture of them two hugging back during the season, and he's like, "Thank you for everything you've taught me. Good luck in Brooklyn."
Right.
So I wish him good luck, and we just got to see what happens, essentially. And good luck to Jason Kidd. Hopefully.
Yes. Best of luck to him. Best of luck to the Nets. And let's go Knicks and let's go Spurs.
Yep. Let's do it.
S&D Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Basketball Association or any of its affiliates.
To the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, that was Division 1.1 with Freak Show, picked by our guest. You'll listen a little later on after this segment. Andy, Eyes on Isles, picked it for us this week.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little baseball.
Yeah, first off, we're going to start off with the better of the two New York teams, the New York Yankees.
Because we're out of things to say about the Mets.
They're in the midst of their West Coast trip. They took 3 out of 4 against the woeful Seattle Mariners. They played really well. They were able to dominate the Mariners with no problem. They won the first game 6-1. They lost the next game 4-1. Then they won 3-1, and then they won 2-1 the next game. Pretty much the first game.
They got swept by Athletics.
They got swept by the Athletics awfully. And today's game was an 18-inning thriller that unfortunately Mariano got unlucky again with a couple of bloops.
Yeah, it just happens. It was the 18th inning. I found it interesting, though. We were watching the game before we recorded. Actually, it was going on while we were recording. Jabba just sat in the bullpen like a nice blob. Did absolutely nothing.
It's a shame.
It's funny. Rivera didn't even get the loss.
He didn't get the loss?
Calabron got the loss.
That's rough. That's a tough loss.
That's a tough one to swallow. I still don't believe in the waste your closer if you're not winning on the road thing.
Yeah.
Situation. But clearly the Yankees just couldn't hit for their lives today. Teixeira 0 for 5. Hafner was 0 for 8. Youkilis was 0 for 7 with a walk. Wells 0 for 8. Knicks 1 for 5. No, it was 3 for 6 with 2 RBIs and a homer. That was nice to see. But the Athletics did pull it out. They took the sweep of the Yankees. Now the Yankees get to go spend the weekend in Los Angeles to play the Angels. And interesting enough, they come back next week, early Tuesday, Wednesday, to play the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. The Dodgers and the Angels have both been underachieving teams. Can the Yankees keep that going, or will these two teams actually wake up? That's the billion-dollar question. Both teams have the firepower to wake up at any moment, just like the Yankees can. It's going to be interesting to see. The Angels are due to wake up.
It's just a matter of time for them.
Like last year, is it too little, too late? We don't know.
So they're going to be fun to see. Any good pitching matchups in that one?
Let me look.
You got Pettit versus Wilson Friday, Phelps versus Hansen Saturday, and CC and Weaver on Sunday.
It's going to be the typical series.
Yeah. Who can hit the ball out of the park the most? Josh Hamilton has not earned his contract with the Angels, in my opinion. Mike Trout is still Mike Trout, but he's slowly getting back to where he was last year.
It's kind of sad seeing Pujols wearing down with all the injuries right now. He has a foot injury and a knee injury, and that's slowing him down. Not really, but he's not Albert Pujols of old.
He's not from the Cardinals Albert Pujols.
And that's kind of sad to see.
They also have a big divisional matchup next weekend. They have a 4-game set against the Rays at home. So they did get a bit of good news today, though. Jeter got cleared today to start baseball activities. So that's a bright side for them. He's been running, apparently. So he gets to start their activities, add another guy. Nothing like adding a Derek Jeter to start your lineup.
Yeah, no, that's great news for Yankee fans, and that the captain is finally being able to come through. Maybe playing by the end of the All-Star break, like we've been hoping to see the captain play. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be slow. Don't take it for granted. He hasn't. He's pretty much essentially just starting spring training right now, as soon as possible. I know.
So when he doesn't bat 400 in the first month, Yankee fans relax. He's basically got to restart his season. He's basically starting his season now. So the Yankees on the other are still one of the better teams in baseball. I believe they're about tied for first place right now.
Yeah, they are. The Red Sox they're clinging on to it for dear life. And the Rays are right there as well. So, like we called it at the early in the season.
The Yankees and Orioles are actually tied in second, 3.5 games back behind Boston.
Yeah.
And the Rays are about 5 games. And those overpaid Toronto Blue Jays are 11.5. Which is interesting. What's your view on the fact that besides R.A. Dickey, basically, the Blue Jays went out and bought a Marlins team that underachieved?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's basically how they did it. And if you underachieve in Florida, how are you not going to underachieve in Toronto?
It's I don't know.
You took all these guys who couldn't do anything in Florida and just move them north. They're not
maybe
birds.
they were just hoping just a different
venue
and a different message.
So they're going to keep struggling, I think, the Blue Jays
this
season.
they're going to keep on struggling this year, without a doubt. I'm happy I didn't kind of believe in the hype as I wanted to, like some others, but it is what it is. The Yankees, the AL East is very interesting. It's anybody's race, pretty much, and it's who's going to be able to take care of it
right
in September.
Can the Red Sox keep this up? I mean, David Ortiz is the hottest player in baseball.
Bobby, yeah.
I loved his shirt that he was wearing underneath his game-winning home run.
Yeah, that's pretty much. It's great. We can't say it on air, though.
Yeah, well, we know what it said. But anyhow, it's still awesome to see the way that they're playing. Props to them. They got the guy from Toronto managing them now, right?
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for them. Cleveland was the hottest team. Terry Francona, and a lot of people were thinking that Red Sox versus Cleveland for the AL would be interesting. Francona versus the Red Sox. But who knows what's going to happen. It's a long baseball season. It's a long summer. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
And before we move forward to the actual team, what's your view on the Mets reaching out to the Cougar website to get votes for David Wright for the All-Star game?
It's
credit to Deadspin.com for the original article.
Mets are trying way too hard to get David Wright to start the All-Star game, to be going out of their way to get Cougar Life and get ads for those Cougars that actually voted for David Wright to be the hottest baseball player under 30 or at 30. It's not needed. That we should be more worried about actual putting product on the field. And
the Mets care more about David Wright being in the All-Star game than they do actually getting people in the stands.
It's getting to that point of ridiculous. We're pretty much becoming a sideshow, and it's really disappointing to see. If David Wright doesn't win the vote, yeah, it sucks because he's so much better than Pablo Sandoval.
He's going to end up starting anyway, though, because Sandoval's on the DL.
Well, right now, we don't know how severe his injury could be, you know?
Right, yeah, he could be back just in time. But then again, Mets did announce today that the Met training staff is...
So whoever has a shot of being injured, be very careful and...
Remember, you're not hurt.
Up. Yeah.
Bring your own trainer.
Your day-to-day.
For all season.
For all season. No, back to the whole Cougar Life thing with the Mets. The whole voting with the All-Star, it's just popularity vote. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I bet you Derek Jeter is still up there in votes, even though he hasn't taken an at-bat this year. It's just people are stupid, and then they don't pay attention, and fans are going to be fans, and it's just what happened last year.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, opposed to who's actually having a good year. And a lot of times I've had these conversations with friends, and every year there's a bunch of players that get stubbed and not able to start the All-Star game or even make the All-Star game. And sometimes we say the fans should be taken out of the voting, but that takes out half of the fun. But sometimes the fans shouldn't have a say on who makes the teams. 9 out of 10 times, because it's just really an awful popularity contest, and half the time it's no one really that worthy of making the team, and you're like, all right, he's just there because of his name.
Well, the leaders as of June 8th. I'll give you the leaders. Our AL catcher, Chris Davis, AL first baseman. Cano is the second baseman. Miguel Cabrera, third baseman. J.J. Hardy of the Orioles is the shortstop. Jeter is fifth, by the way. As of June 8th, remember that. And we are recording on the 13th. And David Ortiz is the designated hitter. Adam Jones, Mike Trout, and Torrey Hunter are the 3 outfielders.
And that's pretty fair.
For the American League.
But the National League gets everybody on the Giants roster, pretty much. I don't know what's gotten into Giants fans the last couple of years with voting, but they are really stacking the ballot.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure who the NL guys are.
It's Sandoval. Scudero is up there after Brendan Phillips. Who else? Posey, which is the fair one.
Votto, Phillips.
Yeah.
Posey, Sandoval.
Yep.
Tulo with Brandon Crawford right behind him.
See, it's just out of control, and like it's good to see that.
And then the outfield,
Giants fans are voting.
The outfield is Justin Upton, Bryce Harper, and Beltran.
Yeah, those are all fair names.
But Brandon Crawford doesn't belong in an All-Star game.
No, not at all. It's very insane in the membrane.
But it is what it is. Like we said, it's fan voting. It's a popularity contest. But back to the amazing product on the field, But like we say, we are loyal to the final out.
Yes, we are. And it's rough. Today's game exemplifies that. Another wasted outing by Matt Harvey. Offense not doing anything, and we lost 2-1. Thank God I was at work today.
Didn't he get the loss? His first loss?
Yeah, his first loss of the year. His first decision in God knows how long as well. On the positive end or negative
Poor guy
side.
could pitch basically perfect games and lose.
It's really frustrating. I saw someone's Facebook status. It escapes me right now, but his status was like, these games are not even fun anymore because they know they're not going to win. Granted, Harvey pitches his nuts off and they don't win. Like, for example, that 20-inning disaster last Saturday. Harvey pitched his brains out again. And
even Markham.
Oh, yeah. Markham pitched 8 solid shutout innings. And
the play-by-play guy for the Marlins said there was 4 quality starts in that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
4 quality starts in that game. 4 different starters had to go 7+ innings.
Yep, essentially.
It's bad. And what made it worse was that it was a Marlins game last Saturday. They're just tough to watch. I mean, it's gotten to a point where if there's nothing else to do, I'll watch. If there's nothing else on, I'll watch. It's going to be a rough month of July.
They've gotten to the point that they're unbearable to watch.
It's going to be a rough July once the NHL and NBA is over.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be nothing to do because you don't want to watch. Granted that they're going to have Zach Wheeler.
Wheeler up next week is
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday is going to be his debut. And it's going to be – I'm excited to see that, but only twice a week we're going to be excited to watch games. It's
not even twice a week. It's like you don't even want to watch the Harvey games because what's the point of watching a team that's not going to score runs?
Yeah, it's fun to watch Harvey. Obviously, we're not trying to sound spoiled, but it's gotten to the point of what else can this guy do? And it's someone told me that he's out of most people on the team, he's getting the most run support. That is one of the most misleading stats ever. Because when he does, the other team, it's just very frustrating right now being a Met fan. Last time we were on the show, Ike and everybody was still on the team. They finally sent down Ike, which was much needed. He needs to find his mind back down in AAA in Vegas. Hopefully, all kidding aside, hopefully he doesn't get valley fever again. No, I'm actually being really serious because with the thin air and everything like that and the desert feeling, he could easily get it again. But hopefully he gets his swing back. He has what's frustrating is he does have the 30 home run potential, as you saw last year, but the quick starts aren't there, and it's just, come on, Ike, you're better than this. And it's just, what can Ike do to salvage this his career likelihood right now? And it's not good, and it's his contract year, and everybody was expecting more from Ike right now, and thinking he would be a 30 home run guy, maybe flirting with 100 ribs. Who's next? If Lucas Duda has to step up too. He's had a couple good games here and there, but nothing spectacular. It's just really frustrating as a Met fan right now, trying to pick out the good out of players, other than Wright and Harvey and Neese. And Dylan G is my Met player of the week.
Yeah. Again, another great couple outings out of Dylan G.
And unfortunately, Hefner had a good start for the first couple innings, and then a couple boo-boos happened, and then we gave up 6.
And he only gave up 1 earned run.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they're going 6-man rotation. That, and also they don't have an off day till July now.
Pretty much because of this wacky weather.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun week for Met fans, though. It should be exciting for them because Wheeler is coming up.
That's the only excitement. Unfortunately, Tuesday night I'm going to be out and not being able to watch the game. I'm going to probably have it T-Vote or something.
Yeah.
It's going to stink missing it, but I'm going to be able to catch his rest of his career.
One game won't hurt you.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed about it, but
you want to see that first one, but you'll get over it.
I'm over it, but yeah, I'll probably be missing it. So
Met fans, enjoy Tuesday night. Next week we'll have a nice review about it. We'll discuss the Zach Wheeler performance for his first major league start.
Yeah.
Granted, he'll probably only pitch 5 to 6 innings.
Well,
because they're keeping him on account.
Which is fair and fine. We're not going to the World Series or playoffs this year, so it's fine.
So enjoy the week of baseball. The Yankees have some good matchups coming out. We're going to go play a little more Freak Show, and we'll be right back with Andy from Eyes on Isles.
SND Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by Major League Baseball or any of its...
And welcome back to the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, you just listened to Freak Show by Division 1.1, which was actually chosen by our guest right now, Andy from Eyes on Isles. Welcome,
to the
Andy.
show, Andy.
Hey, boys. How you doing?
Great.
We're good. How about that game last night? 1 a.m.
Unbelievable. I think I'm still recovering.
I felt it all day today. I was just like, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed to admit that, but yeah, I'm pretty beat.
Well, luckily, the best was when they interviewed Shaw after the game. How does he get ready for Game 2 after a game like that? Sleep.
Yeah, well, another story came out that Marian Hossa apparently went to sleep at 3 a.m. and was awoken at 7 a.m. by his neighbor using like a power tool, like right outside his apartment.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm sure he was happy. I'm sure he'll be a little ornery for Game 2 on Saturday.
So, what did you take out of Game 1?
Well, I tell you, I honestly thought the Bruins were the better team. I thought the Blackhawks showed a tremendous amount of resiliency in coming back, especially down 3-1 with 12 minutes left on home ice. It was a tremendous effort by them. But, I mean, if you really look at that game, the Bruins had, by a large majority, the better of the scoring chances, the more quality scoring chances. And if it wasn't for Corey Crawford, I don't think the Blackhawks... I think the Blackhawks drop home ice advantage in Game 1 if it's not for him. He saved their bacon in overtime, especially with a number of tremendous saves.
Abso-freaking-lutely. What was the tweet you tweeted last night? Oh, my God. I'm sure on a blank, but I remember
there was a lot
answering.
Of them.
No, but it was something that since Game 7 against the Canadians, they only trailed how long?
Oh, yeah, that was from John Buchagras who tweeted that out. I just actually retweeted. Yeah. The Bruins, since Game 7 of the opening round against Toronto, have outscored their opponents 34-13.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's sick.
To It's just crazy. You're absolutely right. The Bruins did outplay the Blackhawks. It just happened that the Blackhawks are that good that they're able to come back. Just pretty much like how the Penguins didn't come back in that series.
Yep.
That's exactly how.
Well, look at
the
most interesting thing this morning that came out. Rask gave up more goals last night than he did in the entire series against the Penguins.
Right.
Yep.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Chicago clearly showed why they're deserving of that top spot in the league this year. And it also clearly shows, and I'll make a link here back to our beloved Islanders, about playoff goaltending, man. You know, if you're getting goaltending like the Blackhawks got last night from Corey Crawford, if the Bruins are getting the goaltending from Rask as they've gotten up to that point, and believe me, I don't blame Rask for any of the goals last night, you can go a long way riding your goaltender in the National Hockey League. And going back to round one against Pittsburgh, if I could for a minute, that's really what the Islanders were really missing, was that stand-on-his-head performance by Nabokov that could have potentially taken them into the second round.
Yeah. It was a great series. A great game last night. Before the series started, what was your prediction?
When we did our Cup preview at Eyes on Tuesday, that came out, and I had actually written in my closing, and I meant this, that it's probably, of all the series we've seen thus far, the most evenly matched one. And I mean that.
Oh, yeah. No question about that.
Two teams that are just so deep at forward. The Blackhawks, I think, are very underrated defensively. But I felt that the difference between Crawford and Rask, while so minimal, I felt went to Rask a little bit. To me, Rask looks calmer, looked cooler. Crawford had a couple of moments in the first three rounds of bad judgment. He kind of lost his communication a couple times, gave up some big rebounds, some soft goals. We certainly didn't see that last night. But for that reason, I went Bruins in 7, only because I felt that if there was any slight edge, it was Rask over Crawford.
Okay. I actually said, I believe it was Hawks in 7.
Yeah,
because I think it's going to be that madhouse in Game 7 is just going to be.
And you know what? I would love that because, to be honest with you, and I've written about this at Eyes as well, my heart and soul is with the Islanders for 35 years. But in 2007, I decided to start following a youngster through juniors named Patrick Kane. And when he got drafted by the Hawks, I decided that they were going to be my West Coast representation in the NHL. So I've kind of been following the Hawks since 2007. I wouldn't call myself a fan per se because I'm a fan of the Islanders, but
if the Islanders weren't around, that would be your team.
Absolutely. If those rumors would have come true of the Islanders moving to Kansas City or up to Canada, I definitely would have had my team all set already. So
rightfully,
I wouldn't mind seeing the Hawks win.
Rightfully so.
Right. Of course, one thing you said was the depth, and something that ended up hurting them last night was the upper body injury to Nathan Horton hurt the Bruins.
Yep.
Because they ran out of that one extra guy. Basically, you had to take 2 guys out of your lineup to roll 3 full lines.
Right.
So once the third overtime starts, 3 lines running is your legs are gone.
The legs are jelly. Today definitely was. Both teams definitely didn't have a skate today. It was definitely optional.
I think it was Doc who said it during the game yesterday that they both teams earned the day off. And that was like early in the second overtime.
Well, Duncan Keith and Dennis Seidenberg both ended up playing over 48 minutes. And think about 48 minutes. I mean, hell, I can go out and skate for 48 minutes. At that level, though, at that compete level and at that speed is absolutely incredible.
It's true. I'll tell you, Duncan Keith's definitely earned that big contract he was given a couple of years ago.
But we all knew that because he's always been a consummate pro, and being able to make the pro moves and being at the doorstep when the goalie needs him the most.
Yep.
Always making that smart play on the outlet pass, getting out of his zone, and he could score that occasional goal that everybody wants out of a defenseman. So he's one of the marquee defensemen. He's a little bit underrated, but he's definitely one of the better defensemen in the league.
I think he might even be in the running for the Conn Smythe this year. I think whether the Hawks or the Bruins win the Stanley Cup, I think that Duncan Keith has to be in that conversation. The only thing I didn't like from his game this year so far has been the slash on Carter. But that was, I'll let that go. It's just a momentary lapse in judgment.
Chris Simon.
Yeah, that was definitely not good.
We got a Chris Simon.
I even went a little further than that when I wrote a little blurb on it at Eyes. I actually went a little further and mentioned that I would never sit here and be as ridiculous as to compare Duncan Keith to Marty McSorley in any way, shape, or form. And while I don't think that the hit clearly didn't have the same malicious intent that the McSorley one did, but nevertheless, they were very similar incidents. I mean, he picked up his stick with one hand and smacked the guy in the face with it. I mean,
Chris Simon comes to mind as well.
Brian Holwig, yeah, remember him?
Tomahawk chop. That was one of the most awkward nights of one of my college career. I'm the only Islander fan out of my college friends, and he just tomahawk chops him, and I'm like, I'm with you guys on this one.
Yeah, there's nothing really we could say. I mean, as Islander fans, I think we were all a little disgraced.
You were like,
what are we supposed to say? That was the best move he could have made.
I'm like home run.
What's this?
Knocked him right out of the rink.
Oh my god, no! This is gonna get ugly.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the Ted Nolan year?
Yes.
And the Gubowitz.
Yeah.
Offs.
Yes.
And if we made it to the second round,
nice job.
Right? If we made it to the second round, he would have been able to play.
Yes, absolutely.
That it's kind of the way I don't know about you guys. It's kind of the way I felt as well. That Islander Penguin brawl game that was made so famous. It's kind of the way I felt about that. I mean, if you look at what Matt Martin, who I absolutely love and think he's such an integral part of our future, if you look at what he did to Max Talbot,
that was wrong.
You could kind of say that was very close to what Bertuzzi did to Steve Moore.
Right.
I mean, if you look at Gillies just pounding, I don't even remember who the heck he was pounding.
He knocked him in the boards. The guy was dazed on the way down, and he just started punching him.
Eric Tangradi, I believe it was.
That's right.
Pounding him, and then he's yelling at him like it's the WWE from the hallway. It's like, I mean, come on. I mean, I like a good hockey scrap like the next guy. I'm not going to say I don't, and I think that it's necessary in the game, seeing how big these guys are and how physical the game is. But I mean, that kind of stuff, like we just said, it's kind of like after the game, it's like as Islander fans, what do you say? There's nothing really we can say.
That's what I don't like. A lot of players these days don't know the unwritten rule. And it's really disgraceful sometimes. I know it's a lap of judgment or something like that. Everybody knows the unwritten rules, but they still do it anyway. And it's really like, you knew the rule. You know you're going to get your ass kicked now kind of thing.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Well, I've talked about that quite a bit. The sense that, players policing themselves has to be brought back. Not to the point where you have a Mike Milbury incident and he's jumping into the crowd, hitting a guy with his skate or his shoe, whatever the heck he hit him. Hit him with his own shoe, I believe.
Yeah, hit him with his own shoe.
But to the point where, players today have lost respect for each other. That's why we're seeing the dangerous hits. That's why we're seeing a lot of concussions. That's why we're seeing this year they're going to start testing out no-touch icing. Because the players are not respecting each other as fellow professionals. And look,
it really is sad to see because obviously each player knows the struggle to make it to the NHL and what they do on a daily basis to compete on that top level, and it really is discouraging to see when stupid plays happen like that. You're absolutely right, and players do need to start governing themselves a little bit better, other than having Shanahan shell out suspensions left and right.
Inconsistent suspensions at
that. And another thing the referees have been inconsistent the whole playoffs as well.
What? Us complaining about NHL referees?
I think you're being kind saying inconsistent when it comes to the referees. I think it's...
Well, we're a family-oriented show.
It's kind saying that Shanahan's been inconsistent and probably fairly accurate, but to say that the refereeing has been inconsistent, I would go and say it's been outright horrendous. Getting worse every season to the point where I don't even know what the league can do about it now.
It goes back to that hit. I think it was in... Was it the Boston series with Matt Cook?
Yep.
Where he got the 5-minute major in the game misconduct?
Yep.
But yet he wasn't suspended.
Right. Now, Now, if you look at Cook's reputation...
that's why you suspend him.
The league was really quick to hand out a reputational suspension to Rafi Torres for a hit that I didn't think was tremendously egregious in the San Jose series. Yet you're right. From Matt Cook, he somehow got a pass. While I admit the Boston defender turned on him at the last minute, that did happen.
Yeah, but you could also make the argument on the Rafi Torres hit that the guy was going down, so he basically left his...
That's definitely true. I mean, the calls last night. Let's go back to the first period last night. Who the heck was it on Chicago? That was Dave Bolin behind the net, and I think it was it Boychuk? Just literally got his stick and smacked him right in the face. Not on purpose, but the referee's in the corner. There's 4 officials on the ice. The referees confer with the linesman at the whistle. None of those 4 officials saw the stick smack Bolin right in the face. None of them.
Yeah.
They put the blind eye at the worst particular time.
It's time to go back to school for the refs.
Yes.
Granted, they basically also got a phone call and said, hey, be here, be ready.
Yep. Just
like the players did. So usually they have those preseason games. But of course they didn't. It's like when the refs in the NFL, I think it was last year, weren't around. Its first couple games were not called well. But everybody let everything pass because it was their first game.
Well, until the you mean the real refs?
The real refs from the real refs.
I was going to say the last game was the...
You mean the Seahawks?
Into a touchdown.
Seattle game, yeah. Well, let's talk about that for one quick second. That's a great point. At the NFL, right? Here's the difference between NFL and NHL officiating. NFL officiating blows their share of calls. It happens.
Oh, absolutely.
A game is not easy to officiate in any sport. But here's the thing with the NFL that I like. A holding penalty in the first quarter is a holding penalty with 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter of a tie game.
I'm gonna.
There were plays.
It depends.
It's the same thing with the NHL, though.
Yeah,
you'll get a tripping call in the first period where you won't get that in the second overtime.
It really varies. It depends on the team.
That putting the whistle away philosophy has to change, in my opinion, and that you can't put away the whistle. A hook is a hook in the first, as it is in the third. A hold is a hold in the first, as it is in the third. A high stick is a high stick in the same.
Well, like last night with the too many men on the ice for Chicago.
Yep.
How many times has too many men gone unseen in the NHL? But in the overtimes yesterday, they actually made the calls, and I agreed with making the call.
Absolutely, I think you have to. But too many times we've seen. So it's been like that in the NHL for 40 years, right? I mean, you get into the playoffs and you get into the third period and into overtime, and the ref, quote unquote, puts away the whistle. Let the boys play. That's ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous notion to me.
Yeah. You were talking a little bit of Isles before, and they actually just made a transaction as of the 12th of June. They traded the captain, Mark Streit, who was going to walk anyway. I'll give you my view first on this deal. We got something for something we weren't supposed to. Basically, he was going to be walking anyway, so it's not like we're going to lose anything. To me, 5 years for $5 million for 4 years. $5 million per for 4 years for a 35-year-old guy is not worth it, especially with the depth the Islanders have. So we traded him for a 4th-round pick, not this year, but next year's draft. You never know what's going to come out of that. And you got a guy to fill up the spot in Bridgeport when we call up a guy. That's just my view.
I think it was great. Like Steve said, we weren't supposed to get him. We weren't supposed to re-sign him. He is asking too much money for a 35-year-old. So I think it was a great move. I don't think he's going to stay with Philly. Granted, he said how much he's going to enjoy playing with Philly. I don't see him as a Philadelphia type. The minute he screws up on D, the Philly media is just going to rip him to shreds. And he doesn't seem like that type of player.
In your view, Andy?
I'm going to say this. I think you guys both made excellent points. I think he's a 35-year-old defenseman coming off what a lot of us felt was a poor defensive season. I don't see him getting better defensively. I think as defensemen age and as the game kind of passes them by speed-wise, they tend to get worse. Anything that Garth Snow, I don't know how Garth Snow turned him into anything. Unrestricted free agent, could be had for across the league on July 5th, and Garth Snow turns him into a 4th-round pick. And you know what? The player that we got is nothing to write home about. In fact, he's nothing to write anywhere about. This kid, Shane Harper. But to get any body and a 4th-round pick for a guy who clearly wasn't going to sign with you with declining skills is amazing. And it shows why people need to really change their views on Garth Snow. This guy's not a laughingstock. He is a legitimate general manager in the league, and he just continues to make smart decisions that are going to benefit this club sooner and later.
Right. I mean, a lot of people even said that the Islanders overpaid for Mark Streit when they first signed him. The original deal for him was a 5-year, $20.5 million contract.
I think that was fair.
I thought it was a fair deal, but a lot of people thought, they're just overpaying a guy because they need him.
No, I think Mark's had a great career on the island, and let's not forget that. He signed here when people didn't want to, and he came here and helped us with the rebuild. He helped us get to the point that we're at today, and I think that's something. When he comes back to the island, whatever jersey he happens to be wearing, I think he deserves to be cheered for that.
Oh, no question about it.
Absolutely, I agree. Here's the most obvious question and the dumbest at the same time.
Well, at least he's asking it.
I have to ask it. You already know where I'm going. You could probably jump the gun.
I'm not going to.
When is John Tavares going to be named captain of the New York Islanders?
Tomorrow. No.
He is, as we speak, right on our show.
Exactly. They're sewing the C on every sweater he wears, even the ones he wears at home. His V-neck sweaters, they're sewing a C on those as well. I don't think there's any other choice in my mind. I thought for a brief moment when this trade happened that Okposo may have a shot, but I think the Islanders want to see more consistency out of Kyle on a yearly basis rather than this kind of first half slump, second half, wake-up call every year that he seems to have. So I think it's JT's team, it's JT's franchise, and I'm not sure when it'll happen. I think that's really semantics at this point. I think the bottom line is it will happen. Come training camp, come the regular season in October, there's nobody else that gets that C in my mind.
It's not just because of who he is, but really it is because of who he is. Because they know what they're getting out of John Tavares every year. And you've actually saw it a lot last year. He gained that fire.
Yeah.
He gained that fire in his eye that Kyle Poso had a couple years ago.
Yes.
Always plays where there would be a bad call on the ice. Kyle Poso will jump off the bench, rush to the ref. So a couple years ago, I always thought that, even before Mark Streit got the C, I actually thought they were going to give it to Okposo.
And I'm not saying that Kyle wouldn't make a good captain someday. I just think that, again, you have to see consistency out of your captain. And I think that's what the Islanders know they have in Tavares. And it's, as you said, it's because of who he is, but it's also what he represents. He represents the franchise. Correct. Everywhere he goes, every rink he steps on, every deli he goes into, every place he goes to eat, and he is the face of the franchise.
Look at when we go to Winnipeg. Normally they boo the best player on the other team. Who do they boo when the Islanders go to Winnipeg? John Tavares.
Well, it all is saying that he is a nominee for the Hart Trophy. That goes out without saying.
Announced on Saturday, by the way.
Yes, Saturday before the game, right?
Yes, 7:00. It's gonna be a lead-in to Game 2.
Yeah, they're doing half the awards then, and then half the awards before Game 4, I believe.
No, they're actually doing Friday. They're going to name the bulk of the awards on Friday at 5 o'clock, which will be streamed on, I think, TSN. And then Saturday, as a lead-in to Game 2, is when they'll announce the big awards.
That's interesting.
They had to set it up because they didn't have that like a week and a half after the finals is going to end.
Right. They couldn't have an actual show in Vegas like they usually have.
No, that's where I was leading up to.
I think they did announce that next year they're going to do that again.
Well, of course. It actually is a good production.
It's fun, yeah.
And I like how the NFL is starting to do that the last few years as well, and they actually had Alec Baldwin as the host.
Well, Jay Moore was doing last year's.
Love Jay Moore.
Oh, yeah.
And he ripped the Islanders.
That's fine. I love Jay Moore.
And I remember every Islander fan I knew I talked to on Twitter was like, "Oh, I can't believe he just ripped the Islanders."
He's a comedian.
The Islanders were a laughing stock. What else are you going to do with them?
Right.
Praise them? Nobody in the league praises the Islanders.
Here's the thing. I don't know if Steve or Dan said it. I think, Dan, you had said this about the Flyers not being able to sign straight.
Yes, that was me.
That's a very good observation, because I'm going to tell you, I kind of agree with that, and I'm not so sure that this was a trade for the Flyers for his negotiating rights is all it was. It basically gives them a 3-week head start on the rest of the league in terms of being able to try to work out a deal with him. I can't see, unless the Flyers are going to amnesty Danny Briere and possibly, I guess they'd have to use the other one on either Brizgalov.
Well, somebody announced today that they were looking at Brizgalov and Briere to amnesty.
They can amnesty 2 players, though?
You get two. You get
2 players. You get 1 this year, 1 next year.
Oh, okay.
2 this year, 2 next year.
Okay, makes sense.
So
okay.
2 over the next 2 years. Now, right now, the Flyers are $2.5 million over the cap. So, I mean, Briz is at 5.6. Briere's at 6.5. So, I mean, yeah, that buys them almost $12 million. So they'd be $10 million over. A lot of their key guys are locked up for this year, so that'll do it. But, all right, so what? Then you're going to lock yourself into another 4 years of a 36-year-old defenseman at $5.5 million when you got $5 million on the books for Pronger, who's not even playing?
Well, that's why I thought it was interesting that Gar Snow, he may have, but why didn't he ask about Danny Briere? If they're going to amnesty him, why not give us his contract? We keep him for the year, keep us close to the cap floor. We know we're not signing big-time free agents.
Well, there's none out there to sign, but...
That, and also players don't want to play at Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think once... And I also think that Wang is still going to have the reins on until they get to Barclays. I think until Wang's revenue stream steadies and starts to go from red to black... I think he's still going to have the purse strings on Snow to actually spend tons of money. I think it's... Briere, though, I mean, he's signed for 2 more years at $6.5 million. A lot of injury history with him. You know,
a lot of head injury. Head injury.
Yeah.
So don't forget about that. That hurts.
Maybe, I'm not... I think for that reason alone, Snow maybe might have stayed away. I mean, a nice return might have been a Braden Colbert, but of course you're not going to get a guy like that for a Mark Streit. But
right, but that's why I said Danny Briere, because it's a 1-year deal. When he's healthy, he's got one of the best shots in the league.
He's a good player. No, I mean,
so I would love to have Danny Briere on my team.
Then who on the Islanders doesn't play because Briere has now come on board, especially in the second position?
I don't think Brad Boyes is being signed. I don't see Boyes coming back.
It depends what he's looking for. I think he's coming off a $1 million deal. I think if the Islanders offer him $1.5 million to play a lesser role, maybe not on that first line, I think he does come back. There's a possibility he'll be back. Depends on if he tries to break the bank, he won't. But
so I would you could also have Briere as your second line center to start the season, at least to start the year.
Right, but right now you have Tavares. My point is, right now you have Tavares, Strome, Cizikas,
Franz,
right? I mean, how did I forget him? So you got, I mean, which one of those 4 gets bumped?
Well, Strome could also play the wing. So where's the you can make the argument where Strome ends up playing Tavares' wing.
You can go Tavares, Briere, Cizikas, or Tavares, Briere, Nielsen, and Cizikas, and then
Have Briere play a wing.
Harris's wing with Molson. Yeah.
Oh, before we forget, last week we had our friend Jeremy on.
Jared,
I'm sorry.
a couple weeks ago.
His pipeline dream is unfortunately over. I forgot to text you, Steve, today. Last week he's a big Ranger fan. He had some mad scientist way of finding a way for Geno Malkin to come to the Rangers. No, it was really elaborate. He
went all out trying to make this play.
Number crunched the whole entire thing. Well, in 2 years, X, Y, and Z is gone, and next year, WX is going to be resigning, and X, Y, and Z. And then we have to go after Malkin. And it was the funniest thing this morning. I get the Bleacher Report Team Stream app alert. Oh, Malkin signs 8-year deal with Penguins. And I just had a big laugh at that. That his big hard work for a half hour, God.
Huge deal that pretty much signals the end, I would think, of Chris Letang's career in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't mind going after him.
Ranger fans are a little delusional, though, to think that they would have added another big contract like a Malkin's to the mess that is Brad Richards, and I still think he gets amnestied this year.
Well, yeah, but that was a big part of his plan.
You still got to sign Stepan, Hagelin. You got Stepan, Hagelin, McDonough this year. Okay, next year it doesn't look any better. You got to sign Callahan, Brassard, Girardi, Delzato, and Lundqvist. Where are they getting all this money?
A lot of guys aren't re-signing. I don't remember exactly what the exact plan was. So take a listen to one of our shows from a couple weeks ago.
I definitely will.
This is the S&D podcast show on the Schmuck Sports Network, and we're here with Andy from EyesOnIsles.com. Well, we all know that Malkin definitely earned his contract in the Eastern Conference Finals. But what's your take on the contract?
Stealing Mets status from today.
Yes, I credit Mets for that one.
I think that the rumor was that Malkin was being offered huge money to go play in the KHL. The KHL is dying to get a big market, preferably a homegrown Russian star to come over.
Aren't they trying to do that with Bobrovsky again as well?
Yep, they are trying to get Bobrovsky over there. They tried to get Ovechkin, and he quickly rebuffed that. But apparently Malkin left a lot of money on the table to wisely stay in the States and collect $9.5 million a year from the Penguins. But now you're looking at a team for the next 5 years, okay, that has almost $22 million locked up in 3 players. Malkin, 9.5, Crosby, $8 million, 7, and $5 million for James Neal.
It's insane.
First of all, how's it getting Malkin making more money than Sidney Crosby?
That one
was arguably the best player in the world.
That's not going to last long. By the way, funny how you mentioned Sergei Bobrovsky. It's funny how mad are Flyer fans for picking the wrong goalie and watching him succeed in Columbus. Granted, they weren't really the best team, but he actually had a great year.
Yeah. He would have done. I'm sure the Flyers would have him back in a heartbeat, but that's been the story of the Flyers the last couple of years. I mean, everyone
management ever since winning the Stanley Cup. It's
going to the finals, not winning.
Yeah.
How could Ray Shero have given Dan Blyesman an extension? Well, I mean, how does Paul Holmgren still have a job as general manager of the Flyers? I mean, he has totally mismanaged that whole team from the last couple of years, and I mean, they're in real trouble in a lot of areas. Not only the cap, but talent-wise, up and down the lineup, they're in a lot of trouble.
Well, what was your take on them giving Dan Bylsma a contract extension?
You know, I know a lot of people aren't a fan of Bylsma. I personally am. I actually think he would have made a good fit as coach of the Rangers. I think that's probably why you haven't heard the Rangers announce that they're hiring Vigneault yet. But the only thing you could possibly blame Bylsma for is not having his team play disciplined enough and not getting his team under control, getting their emotions under control. Because we saw that happen in round 1 against the Islanders, right? They got under their skin. They started out skating them. The Penguins started looking for cheap shots and big hits. And you know what? The Bruins, Claude Julien actually admitted that he watched that Islander series and took a page out of that book. just as the Flyers did to the Penguins last season. And so that's really all you can blame Blysma for. You can't blame him for the Fleury-Vaucun situation. Any one of us would have done the same thing the way Fleury was playing. So I happen to think that he still has a lot of credibility. I still think he's a good coach. And I'm going to say that it was unexpected, but not surprising.
Right. He does deserve the contract. I mean, I feel like it's going to be a short leash for him, though, with it. And I'm sure that was part of what he said. It's basically Cup or out of a job next year.
Yeah.
For him. Because, honestly, they could have won if they were disciplined.
Yeah.
But Boston, I've been saying it all year, Boston's been my team to beat in the East.
Yep.
Because they're just bigger than everybody. It's a lot like I was watching the second Mighty Ducks movie. Like playing the Iceland team. They're bigger, they're stronger, they got more facial hair.
Yeah.
But they didn't have Julie the Cat Gaffney.
They
Definitely
did not.
not. No,
Except for Rask. Rask has no facial hair. I haven't noticed. He has like 3 strings coming from his chin, and that's about it.
The best beard is by far Yager. He's looking like he's gonna.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
He's trying to be Wolverine for the next time.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. There you go.
He's gonna be Wolverine the next time. What's his face doesn't want to be in it.
I was struggling to find that comparison last night when I saw it.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Well, we can also agree now that Patrick Kane actually has facial hair this playoffs.
Yeah,
Yes.
congratulations.
He's becoming a man right in front of our eyes.
The man 88. That's the only other jersey that I own besides an Islanders jersey.
Well, the only other hockey jersey that I own other than an Islanders jersey is Team USA from a couple years ago, Patrick Kane.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely invest in a USA jersey.
I will admit, and I have before, that I may actually consider a Ryan Callahan one next year.
No, you won't. No.
I would consider it a USA Callahan jersey.
Okay, that's fine. We'll give you that one.
Because I respect Callahan as a hockey player.
Oh, so do I. Yeah, absolutely.
He's one of my favorite players in the league that isn't a New York Islander. He does everything that you ask out of a hockey player.
Yep, can't argue with you there.
So, Team USA. I would never wear a Ranger jersey.
You better not.
Like, I'll give you a nice story. My buddy took me to he got free tickets to a Ranger Tampa Bay game a couple years ago at the Garden. And I was like, whatever, it's a Sunday. What else do I got to do? It's a free ticket. I rocked the Team USA Patrick Kane jersey. Because you gotta rock a hockey jersey at a hockey game.
It is a similar jersey for the stupid Ranger fans. They're like, it's the same colors, so it's okay.
Yeah, but it's okay because I wear my Tampa Bay Devil Rays hat. And the Rangers lost. So.
I would probably get Parise, because Parise is the man. Or maybe Jonathan Quick.
Well,
Quick.
Last week you wanted the quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But I'm bummed. He's here all day, folks.
Try the
Pictures.
Well, I would like to thank Andy for joining us tonight. Once again, we actually already made plans to have him on in a couple weeks after the finals. We're going to talk draft and free agency and also do a little cup review with him. So, Andy, thank you again for joining us. Once again, it was great.
Had a lot of fun. Thanks.
Check them out, eyesoniSles.com. Check them on Twitter. Check out the Eyes on Isles on Facebook. We're going to go play a little more Freak Show by Division 1.1, and we'll be right back after this.
Hopefully, the current Knicks team are going to definitely cherish with them and be forever. I saw
its affiliates.
SND podcast. Dan here with Steve. You just listened to our song of the week again by Freak Show, Division 1.1 Freak Show.
Picked once again by Andy, who thanks again for Andy for coming on. Great segment with him talking about the NHL Finals. Game 1, the triple overtime thriller. His point of view. I know he's pulling for the Hawks. So.
Yeah, he was definitely happy. It was great to get his insight once again. If you still haven't checked out his website, it's a must-read. He's a very knowledgeable hockey fan, it's obviously slided towards the Islanders, but he just knows his hockey. So if you're looking for a blog for hockey, it's his blog, definitely. He gets my endorsement 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we know he works his ass off, so it is amazing to see how awesome of success he is doing with that website.
Right, and I know he has a lot of great plans for the future as well. We won't get into that because we don't want to jinx that type of stuff when it comes to it.
Knocking on wood.
So best of luck to him with everything. We'll definitely have him on come the end of the summer.
Oh yeah, we'll have him on again. There's no doubt about it. Maybe a little Stanley Cup post, like always.
Yeah. Talk a little draft, free agency coming up. After that, we can definitely have him.
We have a lot of plans with Andy, so we're not really worried about that. So once again, thank you, Andy.
Check him out on not just the website itself. Check him out on Facebook as well. Also, give him a follow on his personal Twitter. He'll always follow back and he'll always talk to you. He's a great person. That was a good show.
It was a great show. By the time you're listening, you know that either the Spurs are up 3-1 or the Heat tied it 2-2. That hopefully was a great. Hopefully it was a great game. By the time you're listening to tomorrow, enjoy that. Hopefully the Mets and Yankees. Well, hopefully the Mets actually wake up, and hopefully the Yankees.
They have to score runs to wake up. But on the advantage side, when we record next week, we'll be able to discuss the first ever Zach Wheeler Major League Baseball performance.
Yes, as long as everything goes to plan, yes.
We will be either recording during it or we'll be able to review it.
Yes.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's show. I know I did. I know Dan did. Let's play the ending of Freak Show and call it a night.